The cultivation theory is one of the very important and powerful media effects suggested by George Governor in 1970s, right? So let's start with the watching video clips. The real person, George Governor, actually mentioned about his theory, cultivation. And then moving on, knowledge gap theories. Actually, it's one of the theories in the chapter 5, so I'll mention that today, all right? So please make some memos and notes from the video clips.
The most distinctive characteristic of human beings as a species is that we are a storytelling animal. For the longest time in human history, stories were told face to face in the community, in the tribe, in the family. And for many hundreds of thousands of years, that was the only thing that was popular. Of course, there was also imagery, monuments like pyramids or obelisks, murals, cathedrals, they're all images and they're designed to create a sense of awe or a sense of understanding of nature or of thought. This is the true magic of human life, that the stories by and through which we live are the stories that animate us, that make us seek certain things and fear other things. And for a very long time, this magic was tightly controlled. It was controlled by what we now recognize as the priesthood, some kind of a priesthood or a tribal chief. Then, at a certain point in history, there are no changes. The changes when we reach the Industrial Revolution. When the printing press is combined with the steam engine to make rapid printing possible, to make the spread of literacy a virtual necessity, represents the Industrial Revolution in storytelling. From that point on, there are corporations that mass produce stories and create a new kind of entity called a public. This is crucial to understand, as it is the mass production of stories and of messages and of images disseminated to millions of people who could never be reached face to face by the same source. And by doing that, they establish a loose aggregation of people who have nothing in common except the publications they share. The second major change, the change that is still accelerating, is the electronic revolution. And the mainstream of the new electronic revolution is television.
After 10 years of experiment, television, first shown to the public at the World Fair, now takes its place as a new American art and industry.
We have to recognize that television ushers in a new age.
For 500,000 homes, antennas plot the picture from the sky. At a flick of a switch or the turn of a dial, the scene reappears on the television screen.
Fantastic. But our children will grow up with this miracle enriching their lives and giving them a new understanding of the whole world.
Here's what matters most about all of this. This amazing new storytelling force was conceived from the start as a way to sell things.
On television, American business has found the most effective advertising medium, and in turn, advertising has provided the resources that sustain the standards of programming and permit the never-ending research that is the heart of the television industry.
The broadcast airwaves may belong to the public, but television in the U.S. was funded from the start almost entirely by advertising. It was private companies, not public tax dollars as in Great Britain and other parts of the world, that bankrolled network TV programs in the U.S. So from the beginning, the primary function of TV shows was to attract large numbers of people to see the advertisements of the businesses that paid for the programs.
For the first time in human history, most of the stories, most of the time, to most of the children are told no longer by the parents, no longer by the school, no longer by the church, no longer by the community, no longer handcrafted, no longer community-based, no longer historically inspired, inherited, going from generation to generation, but essentially by a small group of global conglomerates that really has nothing to tell them but have a lot to say. From the very beginning, people have no role other than as products who are attracted to a particular program, which in effect is the bait.
And boys and girls, for the very first time, we've all started to eat Wonder Bread, all our meals, breakfast.
Those audiences are the audiences who are most likely to be the consumers of a particular kind of product.
Best-selling, best-tasting filter cigarette. It still tastes good like a cigarette should.
And then the advertiser, in turn, pays for producing the program. From the very beginning, the public is what is bought and sold.
There's one for you. And there's one for you, Joe. Certainly with the fine personality, everybody's buying more and more.
Now, out of this comes an inescapable and highly pervasive cultural environment not produced essentially to sell.
Brought to you by Coca-Cola. For Gertner, the commercial nature of this environment was fundamental.
Hey, when you call, I want you to say, I'm making a $1,000 vow favor. Say the word, $1,000. Say it.
Operating as businesses first, media corporations present a certain kind of world, a world built to sell, offering up a distinct brand of reality shaped by the demands of the marketplace. Everything else stems from this commercial logic, from the fundamental fact that private corporations decide what fills the public airwaves.
Today, a handful of global conglomerates own and control the telling of all the stories in the world. They have global marketing formulas that are imposed on the creative people in Hollywood, and I'm in touch with them, and they hate it. They say, don't talk to me about censorship from Washington. I never heard about that. I get censorship every day. I'm told, put in more action, cut out complicated solutions, but apply this formula because it travels well in the global market. These are formulas that need no translation and essentially image-driven and speak action in any language. And of course, the leading element of this formula is violence.
Okay, actually, the founder of the cultivation theory, George Gardner, explained that the historical development of the media technology and then still, play a very important role in storytelling and setting certain images of the cultivations. Especially, he mentioned that the business aspect and corporations try to set images of their brand to make money, and still this is actually true in the other side of the impact of the TV and the audience side. So much impact from the TV in many sense of the receptions of the informations. So that's actually cultivation, and also let's see, is other. What the mean world means actually business size, and one of the very important concepts, right? Decentralization, acceleration, and also we mentioned that mainstreaming and resonance, right?
The effects of the mean world syndrome.
Let's see another video clips.
Heightened state of alert in response to perceived threats. On the other side of this anxious state, cultivation analysis is also pointed to the paradox of high media exposure, seeming to produce a kind of desensitization, an emotional shutdown.
5:15 p.m. on Tuesday, the man in the black coat punches him, knocking the victim to the ground. Here's what happens next. Nothing for 19 long minutes. People walk past the victim over and over and over again.
Gerbner argued that the normalization of violence in our media culture made us more jaded when we see the real thing.
The consequence of regular or heavy viewing television is a normalization of unhealthy and violent behavior.
So normalization is very common in surround us. It's a violent behavior.
Using the side of his World War II veteran's face like a punching bag, literally trying to knock his block off. And let's not forget the people caught on tape standing by, watching this beating go down. Not one person bothering to help.
I think a better word for desensitization is brutalization. We become brutalized to human suffering and to victimization, which is losing an essential aspect of civilization, which is to be helpful, to be empathetic.
This tape shows a car slamming into a 78-year-old man. The man flies in the air before hitting the ground. Now, here's what you don't see. The cars don't stop. Look, they just keep on going. Just keep on going. What about the people that are walking by on the sidewalk? You don't see anyone go out to help a 78-year-old man who has just been hit by a car and is laying there.
These are the consequences of long-term exposure to violence.
Due to the graphic nature of this program, viewer discretion is advised. This is not a movie. Everything you are about to see is real.
I'm Sheriff John Bonnell. We are living in a scary world.
In Gerbner's view, one of the most disturbing characteristics of the mean world syndrome is how it seems to feed off of itself. Even as heavy exposure seems to have the capacity to numb and brutalize, it also seems to whet the appetite in some of us for ever-increasing levels of violence in programming, presenting a steep challenge for broadcasters who need to keep finding ways to stimulate us and to get us to keep watching.
Cameras roll, capturing frightening riots from across the globe.
Violence has to be continually amped up to get our attention and to register with us.
Children grow up with 5 scenes of violence per hour in prime time, with 2 or 3 murders a night and 20 and 25 scenes of violence in children's programming. A certain percentage, let's say 5%, become addicted to it. That is a so-called niche market.
Find out how the world draws prices that test history's most valuable weapons. No rules, no safety, no mercy. It's a duel to death to decide who is the deadliest warrior.
So you have these niche markets that want more explicit, more graphic, more brutal representation of violence.
True stories of real people in real danger. This is Most Daring Fighting Back.
And now, Holy proudly presents our top 10 skateboarding whiteouts.
Go past. Go back. And an estranged husband pulls a blade, savagely slashing his own wife. And straight ahead on Most Daring, citizens under attack.
You have a public which is punch drunk and violent, which has been cultivated to accept violence as normal, to accept violence as something that is done very frequently in the real world. The way to satisfy this market is to increase the dosage, so to speak. It's like a drug. After we have become accustomed to a certain dose, you have to increase the dosage to get the same effect. And we have done a little follow-up of a selected group of motion pictures that anyone can do with new movies that are coming out. The so-called action programs that have a significant occurrence of violence, and all they've done is to count the corpses. And you find that when an action movie is remade, when there's a second or third version, the body count, so to speak, goes up.
Okay. Really mean world, right? Mean world of the media. Okay. You know what? The cultivation is, it's kind of, concepts. We used to frequently use before the cultivation theory, but especially this is true in the impact of the TV industry, TV in 1970s. So probably you catch, important concepts and what cultivation theory is very important. As Dr. George Governor mentioned that mainstreaming media really try to booming up certain mainstream cultures, but which are more likely to be sensational and fun and more violent to draw attention from the audience, right? And then resonance. If one, prestigious media pay attention to certain issues, probably other types of the media follow to catch up. That's interesting stories. And also the reactions from the audience side, it's kind of a mainstreaming and resonance. It's like cycling of the diffusion of the agenda through the media, especially TV. And then we just saw desensitizations, normalization, right? Normalization, what? Of the violence. And cool scene of the media contents is really normal to us because we used to watch. We just accustomed to consume that kind of the violent contents of the media, and then we receive it very easily. It's a part of our normal lives. That's normalization, desensitization, right? That's really something we underestimate of the crimes and violence, and also we overestimate of the our real world. That's the really important points from these theories. Let's see, video games. Let's see. This is one of the most cited video clips to explain the cultivation.
In the 1970s, a research project was developed to study how watching television may influence the viewer's idea of what the everyday world is like. Developed by Professor George Bergner, Dean of the Technical School for Communication at the University of Pennsylvania. This project later became the cultivation theory. Bergner states that television has become the main source of storytelling in human society, in addition to being a medium of the socialization of most people into standardized rules and behaviors. Those who watch 4 or more hours a day are labeled heavy television viewers. Those who watch less than 4 hours a day are light viewers. Heavy viewers are exposed to more violence and therefore are affected by the mean world syndrome, an idea that proposes that the world is worse than it actually is. Herder proposes that the effects of television watching are not immediate. Rather, it continuously nurtures and shapes the viewer's perception of the world around them. The cultivation theory, in its most basic form, suggests that exposure to television will, over time, suddenly cultivate viewers' perception of reality. Today, cultivation research is in the effects tradition. Cultivation theorists argue that television and by computer and video games have long-term effects, which can be small, gradual, or indirect, but are cumulative and significant. A former West Point psychology professor, who has written several books that pertain to the subject of violence in the media, has repeatedly used the term murder simulator to describe first-person shooter games. He argues that video game publishers unethically train children in use of weapons, and more importantly, harden them emotionally to the act of murder by simulating the killing of hundreds or thousands of opponents in a single typical video game. Critics of video game violence agree that violent video games are as bad an influence on children as our television shows with the same level of violence and cruelty. Most believe that video games are more threatening to a child's well-being due to the fact that a video game player personally uses the controller to make an on-screen character act out the violent behaviors.
Okay, now is moving on. Another theories in the chapter 5. Okay, you know, knowledge gap theory. This is history of the theories. It was first proposed by Ticano Donahue Ollian in 1970s. It's a very same time period of the cultivation and agenda setting and spiral of silence. It's also in terms of historical aspect of the media research, effect research, is another recovery of the powerful effects. The same time period is one of the theories, actually, knowledge gap theories. Especially anchorage of the TV impacts on people and society are very similar of their cultivations. Cultivation more focused on negative sides of their TV impacts, right? On audience, on peoples. And also this is the same thing. It's knowledge gap is more focused on the characteristics of the audience. Information and knowledge is decided by some factor of some variables of the audience, such as educations, higher educations, high information process, high level of knowledge, and also high level of use of the media. So by taking advantage of the media technology, higher education, high educated peoples will easily get informations. And then the difference between the poor and the rich, the difference between educated peoples, uneducated peoples, the gaps becomes widened as they consumed the more contents of the media. That's actually knowledge gap theories. So actually increase of the TV impact, especially in 1970s. And then as very similar approaches of the cultivations, this is another anti-utopians or dystopian perspective of the media impacts, the effect of the media. Actually, I mentioned that the paradigm, right? So what kind of paradigm actually I mentioned the earlier, this semester? I mentioned that utopian perspective, right? Utopian paradigm, and the other side, anti-utopian paradigm. So in terms of utopian paradigm, what kind of theories actually we can talk? we can say that development theory or modernization theory or diffusion theories, even agenda setting theories. It's a lot of communication theory. It's partially explained by utopian paradigm of the impact of the media, right? But what about the other side, anti-utopian or dystopian paradigm about the effect of the media? Is it like cultivation theories or cultural imperialism or media imperialism theories? And another one today, we mentioned the knowledge gap theories. It's more focused on the negative side of the media impact, right? That's historical background of the knowledge gap. Okay, knowledge gap assumptions right here. The increase of the information in society is not evenly acquired by every member of society. We used to say information society today, or knowledge society today, and media society, information superhighway. So a lot of terms actually indicating our society today is related to media and information, right? But more information through the media, it doesn't guarantee more knowledge of the every member of our society. In other words, not evenly distributed, not evenly acquired by member of society. More educated peoples has more knowledge from the same informations. That's the knowledge gap hypothesis. So people with a higher socioeconomic status tend to have better ability to acquire information. That's another assumption. What socioeconomic status? That's we call SES, it stands for, okay? SES stands for socioeconomic status. So highest SES. High SES means more educated peoples, more educations, and the rich, more money, more income, right? More incomes, and more prestigious jobs. White-collar groups rather than blue-collar groups. So more prestigious jobs and more education, more incomes, and more family background, family backgrounds, high class, and a lot of terms of the structuring of our society, a little different classes like incomes, monies, and types of jobs, and educations, and also gender differences was actually, male is more tended to be highly regarded as, prestigious jobs and high income levels. In terms of those kind of, the factors we call socioeconomic status. Socioeconomic status. So socioeconomic status is very important, indicators when we explain the knowledge gap theories. Low socioeconomic status people have little and no knowledge about public affairs issues and disconnected from news events and important new media, and usually aren't concerned about the lack of knowledge. This kind of assumption is very important in explaining the knowledge, okay, knowledge gap. Okay, now think about this. Knowledge gap theory used to true in one countries. And also, these arguments can apply in global settings. In other words, well, rich countries tend to access to the new media technologies, has more knowledge and more chance to be competitive, and then the gaps between rich countries, the people living in the rich countries and the people living in the poor countries, the gap getting wider and wider as time goes on. That's knowledge gap theory in global settings, not in one just the domestic situations. So knowledge gap hypothesis or knowledge gap theory is still true in the one countries and one cultures and across the world. That's actually knowledge gap theory. And also, this is actually true. This is actually true like this, right here. Knowledge gap theory is, closely related to digital divide. Digital divide. So you have to memorize what digital divide means. The knowledge of a new technology, knowledge of the new digital technology depends on SES of the pupils. More educated pupils tend to have more high digital technologies. In other words, same thing. In terms of knowledge levels, more educated people, more income level people, have much advantages of less educated people and poor people, right? That's knowledge gap hypothesis. But digital divide is the same thing. In terms of level of digital technology, how well they use the digital technology, it depends on education levels, and the income levels, and the types of jobs and genders, and in terms of international context, rich countries versus poor countries. The gaps and also the divisions becomes wider and wider as the time goes on. That's the actual arguments of the knowledge gap theory and digital divide. This is examples right here. Internet users per hundreds. 1997, 2007, 10 years. A little, out of time days. But from the 97 to 2007, as you see, Internet users. As the time went on, 10 years between 97 and 2007, you know what? The gaps, it's just 15 or 20%. But the gaps became larger and larger until the year 2007, right? That's actually we call digital divide. Or even we can say that knowledge gap between the countries, right? Developed country and developing countries, right here. Wider, yeah, wider and larger. Today, another one is, this is not actually mentioned in the reading package. This is actually another point, is, I'll give you my lectures about language divide. So, we have to know knowledge gap, very similar one, okay? knowledge gap, and the digital divide, and the language divide. Three very interesting and very important theories. Especially, this is actually based on the anti-utopian paradigm about the impact of the new media, impact of the technologies. So, knowledge gap, digital divide, and language divide. Okay, let's talk about language divide now. You know what? In terms of cultivation and cultural imperialism and media imperialism sides, a lot of scholars maintain the arguments about, hey, this is not fair. This is not fair in terms of languages, because the dominance of their languages is actually control the amount of knowledge and amount of the information actually we get or we access. So language become very important factors to control information level and knowledge level across the world. That's the actual point about the language divide, okay? Language divide. You know, English language is most used in the world as mother tongue. Is it true? But is this question is true or not? In terms of the number of users, the number of speakers, what about the first languages? Yeah, Chinese is actually 1.5 billion, right? But English is second languages in terms of users and speakers. English is actually about 1 billion. 1 billion actually use the English as your mother tongue across the world. And right here, this but more important thing is right here. Chinese actually not a really dominant languages evenly distributed over the countries, but English is actually more than 200 use the English, and 70 countries use English as official languages, and educating English is more than 100 countries. First language or second languages. So definitely we say that English is very important and the most important languages today. And also, this is true online. This is true internet. This is true in social media. That is more important actually right here. This is language divide among the informations. 80% of the internet information written in English. I said 1 billion people use the English, right? That's 1/5. It's less than 20% of the world populations. But 80% of the all informations on the internet is actually written in English. That's actually shows us dominance of their languages, dominance of the English, right? So websites, it's closer to 80% again. Japanese, 7%, German, that's actually second languages, and third, German is 5%. But this is a little 5 years old, 5 years ago data. Probably Chinese information is really ranked probably second or third today. So this data shows really English dominate in terms of amount of the information internet, right? That's actually we call language divide. It's a very similar one, language divide. That's very important things. So I did it a little, test right here, type in, as you see, type in the newspaper, right? Type in the newspaper Yahoo, and then I got number of results right there, 47 million. So what about the Korean sites? I type in the Sinmun, is a Korean language of the newspaper, and how many I got? 1.172, not a million. 1.172, 1,172. So this is a really huge differences. Huge difference in terms of the amount of the informations by different languages, and show us how much English dominates of the information on the internet, right? Probably that's the most important information source today. We get we access. So that's a huge differences. So this actually gives you language divide and knowledge gap in cyberspace. And also English website pages outnumbers Korean over 100 times. That's another things. And also I did it another, not a newspaper, another just the topics right here. So I did it a small test, and then I found that huge difference in the responding number of the informations. With the select the key words, that shows language divide. Make sense? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Why not the language is not included? And knowledge, it's not the same?
Language and knowledge. You know, how do you get the knowledge actually? Through the languages, right? And through the new media. So in terms of the difference in use of the new media, lead actually difference in the knowledge. That's knowledge gap. And in terms of a difference between level of the efficiency or level of numbers of the new technology, new media, that's a digital divide. And language is very important for the information and the knowledge. We still have so much difference in the languages. Make sense? That's actually lead to knowledge gaps and digital divide. That's the point. Actually, I want to say that three a little different, but very similar, and anti-utopian paradigm about the media effects, media technology, and probably three most frequently cited media theories. Actually, we can say that knowledge gap, digital divide, and language divide. Okay? All right. It's right here. It's about digital divide and the impact of the new technologies. And let's see, dismantling digital divide.
Started after the Industrial Revolution in Europe, between technology has and technology have not.
It is this disparity that results in the uneven distribution of technology benefits for developing nations like India. Today, we struggle to use technology to solve the basics of our desire, economic prosperity, empowerment, and social change. And when the population in question is 700 million, spread over 630,000 villages, the gap commonly known as the digital divide looks very wide indeed. This is where information and communication technologies, or ICT, comes in. It brings technologies like the internet to the doorstep of the poor in rural and urban areas. It aims to give every citizen, irrespective of their social background or the language they speak, and access to technology to empower and aid them in their respective occupations.
If you count the ICT initiatives, particularly for bridging the digital divide or taking technology to rural areas, I would say there are about 30-40 projects. And probably about 10,000 villages have some kind of computing there, either connected with the internet or local kiosks.
If you look at the kind of divides that exist, for example, in our society, one is distance, and the city versus the remote rural area, which lacks everything that we can think of. And the quickest way of bridging that is ICT. The fact that distance doesn't matter, let's say geography is history, and geography is gone now, thanks to communication technologies. And so you're able to bridge that divide. If you look at the divide between the literate and the illiterate, again, new ICTs, particularly things like...
No, ICT means information communication technology.
Automatically converted to voice, I can put out headphones and hear what's happening. Things like this, which are able to, come across some of these divides in our country, to me is what ICT can do.
We looked at the devices in the market at that time and found that PCs, laptops, they were all built for different markets, for a different purpose. And people were trying to import them into this country and trying to force-fit technology which is not meant for local use. So we said we need to define what is the right technology for where we are. And result of this thinking and exploring and researching is what this will give us.
One such initiative is being implemented in the state of Chhattisgarh. They distributed 900 computers in the 11 panchayats or block-level village centers. They contain data on most government schemes for villagers. These are then communicated by the sarpanch or village head to all villagers. The computer is also used for data collection. So typically, a sarpanch will collect details on population, land holdings, crop details, as well as village requirements on the computer and send this data online to the relevant government department.
So, computer has the potential to be connected to our state-wide area network. So with the help of our SWAN, which will provide a backbone, using computer, all these sarpanch will get connected to the government.
इसका आपको ट्रेनिंग वगैरह दिया तो कितना समय लगा आपको सीखने में?
ट्रेनिंग के लिए तो 2 बार दिया था, लेकिन पहले बार में ही समझ आ गया।
कितने घंटे तक पढ़ाई सीखने में?
सीखने के लिए तो 1.5 घंटा मांगता है, 1.5 घंटा में पूरा सीख गया।
तो इसमें जो आप एंट्री करते हैं उसका फायदा क्या है एंट्री करने का? मेरा मतलब ये कि आपको आसान पड़ता है या फिर आपको
आसान पड़ता है, क्योंकि ये कंप्यूटर में तो छोटा रूप है ही, एक बटन दबाओ तो पूरी फाइल निकल जाती है। यदि हम अलमारी में फाइल रखते हैं, वो फाइल निकालने में अलमारी खोलेंगे, फिर फाइल खोलेंगे, फिर एक पत्ता पलटाते रहेंगे, तो वो हमको पत्ता पलटाना नहीं पड़ता, कम समय लगता है, एक बटन दबाएंगे सारी फाइल सामने आ जाती है, तो ये हमको समय की बचत कराती है।
Fact that they're able to take some technology which is new and they're able to use it and benefit from it, gives them so much self-confidence. So the ability to come back after losing a technology, that confidence, I think is better than anything else you can do.
India first looked at ICT in the early 90s, but at that time, the challenge was not just cost, but an effective telecommunication infrastructure that would allow the spread of information.
This is as way back as 1994. India had only about 7 to 8 million telephones in the country, and was expanding only about 1 million telephones per year. It was at this point we were started looking at how to really get telecom moving in the country and get to something like 100 million telephones in the next 8 to 10 years. And we actually saw that there was tremendous disconnect between what the cost for installing a telephone line is and what kind of revenue that an operator can get. And we saw that, looked at each component of the telecom network. And we saw, while many other parts of the telecom network, the cost trend was declining, the local loop, which is from the exchange to the home, a pair of copper wires, that was the dominant cost, and that was not going down. And it is that which we therefore started focusing on and saying what can be done. And that's the time we looked at wireless. Because people did not think that it can be built in less than 30,000 rupees. We said we will build it on under 10,000 rupees. Tower, the base stations, the connectivity, the front-end switching, and the subscriber unit. Each of these things have to be built. Appropriate antennas have to be built. So we started working on each and everything. For example, antennas at that time used to cost $20. We got a local party in Chennai. We designed antennas, got them to build it at less than 100 rupees.
The result was the KUOCW wireless in local loop that is today capable of high-speed data transfer and costs just 7,000 rupees for the entire equipment. But it still had a long way to go to penetrate most of rural India. That's when the brains at IIT Chennai pioneered an entrepreneur-driven business model. It provided technology services in rural areas for a small fee. These are what typical internet kiosks look like.
That's typical internet cafe and PC bar in Korean, right? In India.
Giant boost to telemedicine efforts, connecting doctors from large cities to remote villages over a video conferencing link. However, the most demanded service is basic computer education like Windows, Word, Excel, and painting.
To me, the most exciting thing is what it can do for empowerment. The fact that somebody is sitting in a village, somewhere, a remote village, can access information about what schemes the government has, not just to benefit from them, but what is being used or spent in his or her name, what schemes are being put in place, and then to ask questions about them. So, if one of the plans is making a road into the villagers are able to ask, hey, when did this start, how much money was spent, why isn't it finished yet? Or, frankly, in many parts of India, where is that road you claim to have built, which was never built but money was stolen for it? These questions, I think, strikes me that they really bring meaning to democracy, because what they do is, instead of democracy being electoral democracy where you vote once in 5 years or whatever, you're now able to participate, which is what democracy is all about, in the process of decision making and to shape decisions. This is what ICT can do.
The business partner எனக்கு திருப்தியா இருக்கு மற்ற பிள்ளைகளுக்கு ரொம்ப திருப்திகரமா இருந்து ஒரு ஜாப் ட்ரை பண்ணிக்கிறாங்க இப்போ இந்த இன்சார்ஜ்ல நிறைய ஜாப்ல நமக்கு தேடி கொடுத்துருக்கோம் மந்த்லி 12,000 ஏர்ன் பண்றதுனால என்னுடைய ஃபேமிலியை மெயின்டைன் பண்றதா இருக்கு எனக்கு ரொம்ப ஹஸ்பண்ட் நான் கேட்க வேண்டியதில்லை நானே எனக்கு தேவையானதை வாங்கிக்கலாம்.
I see the many students sleeping, so the topics for the next week, it's stereotyping. It's a very important concept in chapter 6. So let's see the stereotypes video clips today instead of the this one. That's more entertaining, okay? That's more entertaining. You know what? One of the stereotypes is actually, racial stereotypes and cultural stereotypes. And one of the very important stereotypes is gender differences, okay? So let's see how the media reinforce the images of gender over time. That's actually setting up our images provided in media. That's video clips right here.
Reinforcing gender stereotypes through television advertising. A lot has changed over the last 50 years. From the first man on the moon receiving equal rights for all in the fall of the Berlin Wall, to the creation of a channel dominated by pop culture and women in North America finally being transitioned into high government positions. Well, what progress have we made in addressing gender stereotypes within advertising?
This flat tire needs a man, but when there's no man around, Goodyear should be.
Hey, let's order pizza. Make it big for us.
Oh, yeah, we like a large thin crust pizza.
Not much has changed in TV ads over the past 50 years. Yes, technology has made the aesthetic viewing of television more pleasurable, but the message being delivered by the ads themselves is still the same. Commercials might attempt to sell products, support certain politicians, or increase public awareness, but often they have done so at the expense of reinforcing gender stereotypes. According to a study by Robert Barsh, men are underrepresented in commercial domestic products, such as those that involve food, cleaning products, cosmetics, and home remedies. Similarly, women were underrepresented in commercials of non-domestic products, such as electronics, automotives, and heavy machinery. This study, which analyzed over 755 different commercials, found that women were 66% more likely product representatives within domestic product advertisements, while men represented 70% of all non-domestic product advertisements. In having women represent the majority of domestic products, advertisers are reinforcing socially constructed gender roles, such as those that assume that all women should be domesticated. They suggest that all women will enjoy and find satisfaction in cleaning, want to cook and care for the family, and that all women desire to look good to seek the attention of men.
What happened if I were to send this out? Probably nothing.
On the contrary, men are portrayed through the stereotype of being powerful, muscular, and having a love for beer and a desire for women and sports for the needs of young men. Other than the suggestion that all women should be domesticated, is that all women are simply objects of sexual pleasure for men. In a study conducted by Thomas Princeton on how cast characters in commercials can create and reinforce unwanted stereotypes, it was found that young women were depicted as rewards for men's use of certain products. This further perpetuates the traditional stereotype that women are objects for male desire, that just because they're men, they somehow have earned the right to have these women. First of all, television is a staple in modern homes, bringing with it commercial workforce. Since its introduction in the 1940s, television has become so pervasive in North America that it is preeminent among current various popular culture of country. 99% of homes in Canada own or have access to a television set. In 2007, Canadians watched an average of 26.8 hours of television per week, and the average child was seeing 20,000 commercials in a single year, and 2 million by the time they were 65. The Super Bowl, for instance, is one of the largest viewed sporting events in North America, viewed by over 58 million male viewers in the U.S. in 2010 alone. That represents 55% of the overall viewer population, and it comes as no surprise that most of the commercials shown during the game are geared towards men. Because of this large viewing audience, this would be a great opportunity to provide positive messages that break through gender stereotypes. Advertisers, however, have chosen a different path and continue to reinforce gender stereotypes in order to sell their products.
Hey, can you help me out?
Yeah.
It's Valentine's Day. I gotta write something, but I can't.
Just write what's in your heart.
She'll think I'm dumb.
No, she won't. Tell her how you feel. Come on, give it a shot.
Okay. Dear Kim, your rack is unreal.
So you sit there.
My heart told me to.
Many of the messages being portrayed in commercials from the 60s about particular gender roles are still prevalent in today's commercials. Why have they chosen to not break out of these gender-defined stereotypes? Well, because they work. Unless we take steps to limit the amount of stereotypical content that's prevalent in today's advertisements, people will continue to look towards advertisements as examples of who they expect to be in society. As ideal as it would be for advertisers to stop reinforcing gender stereotypes and roles, ignoring success simply renders any hope of change futile.
Mom, how did you and Dad make your marriage work? Communication and understanding. I also did the little things that helped him spend more time with his friends, like rake the leaves, mow the lawn, build a solarium, fix the retaining wall, and change the oil every 5,000 kilometers. And remember, you can always say, I love you, with a case of Bud Light.
Okay, chapter 6, if you read social learning theory and stereotypes, the two main theories we'll talk about next week, okay? Okay, thank you for coming today and see you next week.